Hi everyone, this is Alma coming to you from Long Beach, California. Today is Saturday, June 20th of the year 2020, and this is my 25th FlossTube. I don't know why, it happens almost every week. Yeah, 25th FlossTube. Handy dandy planner. Well, welcome, first of all. Welcome to you all. Thank you for all of you that have been watching me for a while, have been supporting me. Thank you, as ever, for continuing to watch, for continuing to spend a little bit of your weekend with me. If you do watch it when I upload, or just spending time with me, I really do appreciate it. Thank you for all of you that leave comments. I always do enjoy writing back. I know that sometimes it takes a little bit of time. I'll try to be better. At this point, I'll just be like, I'll just answer as soon as I get them. So that's not me being weird. That's me trying to just keep on top of things. But if you are new, then I do want to welcome you. This FlossTube channel is about cross-stitching. I do mostly full coverage and a lot of fantasy. I'm very much a Disney girl, but I have plenty of other fandoms that I belong to. So I've got a couple of Lord of the Rings pieces. I got yeah, just a lot of fantasy. A lot of fantasy whips going. So if that does sound like something that's of interest, then I do invite you to go ahead and yeah, sit back, grab a cup of tea, grab a cup of coffee, and yeah, I do have quite a bit to show. Well, not quite a bit. I'm trying to restructure the way that I work things, so I feel like I don't have as much to show you this time, but that could just be me. But before I forget, I do want to mention, because I did have, I believe it was here in my, because I do my videos in English and Spanish, so I'm pretty sure it was somebody that watches my English videos. They were asking how I keep track of things. They were asking how I keep myself organized. So I did mention this in when I first started my channel. I think it might have been like video 2 or 3, but I wanted to go ahead and talk about it a little bit again. If you're not interested, and I'll just go ahead and put a time stamp so that you can just fast forward if you're not interested. But this is essentially how I keep track of everything. I just got this for a couple of bucks at like Ross or TJ Maxx. I don't know. It was one of those like secondhand stores. So I thought it was cute. And you know, a planner is a planner. It had weekly and monthly spreads, which is all I needed. So I mostly I don't really use the monthly spreads as much now, because most everything is through Facebook anyways, and I have the Facebook reminders. But on the monthly spreads, how I work on it is, I'll show you this one because it has a little bit of everything. So I'll go ahead and write down the notes, and these are the monthly events for my Facebook groups, and the group that they belong to. So Stitch Mania, which I'm part of, they had a couple of events going for March, where they had a finishing madness. So you were meant to finish as many whips as possible in anticipation of Mania coming up in a couple of months after. But then also they had a Mirabilia March. So I wrote down that I was going to focus on my Mirabilia Portrait of Veronica which I ended up not being able to start because I didn't get the correct fabric. But then Full Coverage Fanatics are doing like the trip around the world this year. So that month was Canada, and I was going to focus on snow because it has white and red, which are the flag colors for Canada. And then Stitch for Stash was also going to do a Mirabilia March. M is for Mirabilia. And then I also used the monthly spreads to keep track of when I start my pieces. So again, this is kind of outdated because I ended up not starting that pattern that day, but it's, you know, that's, you know, planning that doesn't really happen. But I also, so here's another one, oops, right here. Peter Pan had a birthday. I don't know why I'm choosing to go under. That was awkward. Okay. Peter Pan had a birthday last month, so this is also where I put down when one of my whips has a birthday, which Harry Potter is turning 2 years old. My Hogwarts Castle is turning 2 years old this week, or yeah, like not the week that just ended, but the coming week. So I will go ahead and bring out Hogwarts at least for that day. I think it's on Friday, so I'll at least work on it on Friday to commemorate that 2-year second birthday. But then the weekly spreads are usually the ones that get the most work, and I'll go ahead and show you some in the past so you can kind of see. Here we go. This one's not so bad. Okay. So I like organizing by color. So for me, yellow, or I need, okay, all right, I can do this. I can power through this. Blue means magical stitches. Black is enchanted stitching, and then everything in pencil has to do with the Lord of the Rings challenge group. The Stitchy quest to destroy the one true ring. So, and then everything on like this side of the planner is the weekly events, and then everything on this side is monthlies. So that month, well, yeah, I'll just show you another month so you can see it. There we go. Okay, so yeah, so these would be like the extra credit. They call them extra credit and magical stitches, and then enchanted stitching is just monthly challenges. But yeah, as you can see, you know, it's the same here. Pencil is Stitchy Quest, enchanted stitching, and magical stitches, and I just try to go along, you know, and once I check off for the monthly tasks specifically, once I check off the ones that I did do, I'll go ahead the following week, I'll rewrite the list, but then omit the ones that I've already done, just for the sake of not having as much going on the pages, because it is a lot, especially because sometimes monthly tasks will have like part A, part B, and part C. So yeah, so I'm like, okay, let's try to, you know, simplify things. I'm a very visual person, so that's what works for me. That's also one way to know where I can double dip. So if I see the prompts, I can see which ones are similar, or which ones I can use the same whip with. So yeah, so that is something that that has worked for me so far. If I continue to do the challenge groups, then I'll continue to use a planner. Again, I can just get a cheap planner because I'm not gonna spend, like, I know some people love doing the fancy planners for the stitching. I know that Jen Lee of 24 Hours of Cross Stitch has an entire setup for her own for her own cross stitch group, but for me this works. This is more than enough for me to get by. And then for my stitch count, I have spreadsheets. I have an Excel spreadsheet where it's just a log. I have one sheet for daily stitching, and then I have a weekly and a monthly sheet within that spreadsheet. But you know, thanks to Excel and working with formulas, I don't have to do the math myself. I just input the formula. So like for the weekly stitch count, I just do, okay, well, please, you know, add everything from this date to this date. So it does it for me. I don't have to do it myself. So that's where my weekly stitch counts come from. And again, I'm very visual. So for me, I can see where all the zeros are, which whips aren't getting as much love. So at that point I say, oh, okay, then maybe I should bring this out because it hasn't been stitched on in a while. So yeah, I just wanted to go ahead and revisit that for a little bit, since I know that there are some new viewers that have been joined since I last talked about it. So yeah, so if you do see me like glancing at this, that's because this is where I keep everything. So yeah, so that is that. If you do have any, again, if you have any questions, if this wasn't enough and you still have questions about how I organize myself, feel free to shoot me a comment. I'll reach out to me via Instagram. I have had several people reach out to me by Instagram as well, so if that works better for you, go ahead and I try to be a little bit more aware, because usually if it's, you know, a stranger or somebody who's not like on my friends list or something, or the accounts that I follow, they go to like a separate place. I don't instantly get them. You get a little notification that says like so-and-so is trying to reach you. So but I do try to be more aware of those, because I know that sometimes it's just people that accounts follow me. I may not necessarily be following back yet. But okay, without further ado, let's get to the stitching. Okay, 12:50. So as ever, I'm always still doing my challenge groups, and the main goal for me right now is also to finish this little beauty. This is my oldest whip right now. It's Tinkerbell and Peter Pan Fly to Neverland. I've decided that I'm gonna go ahead and work on this one full day a week at least. And I think I'll just go ahead and stick with Mondays because I've noticed that that's when I'm working on it. And I figured it's a good way to start the week, you know, because I am getting so close to finishing it that I feel like it gets me pumped up to work on other things that may be close to a finish. So yeah, so as I mentioned previously in my videos, these are MCG Textiles kits that aren't available anymore. I mean, there's a few on eBay, but you either pay rent or you you buy yourself a Thomas Kincaid kit. It's what it's come down to, essentially. But I went ahead and this week I have the fan on, so I just lost my stitch count guide. That's fine, I'll power through. So I finally got around to finishing Tinkerbell. This literally took me all day because I don't think you can see, I don't know if you can tell, but this white here, right here, and as well as all the yellow that you see around her, that's all sparkly. That all had blending filament that needed to be added to her. So what I did was I went once through with just like the regular cotton floss, and then I kind of cheated a little bit and so I did it a second time using the filament only, and I did the top stitch. So that always, because that's one thing that always bugged me when I was working on this previously, is sometimes I would go ahead and mix the two, you know, which is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to blend both the cotton floss and the filament, but sometimes I would do it and the cotton floss would be on top, and I'm just like, okay, well then why am I bothering with this if it's not gonna show up? So I did see that tip on one of the Facebook groups saying, oh, well, you can just do it once over with the cotton floss and then just do the top stitch with the filament, and that way it's always on top and you can always see it. But that just means that you're doing everything twice over, which is why it took all day. But she's done and she is glorious, and yeah, I'm very happy, because that's the other thing is I moved the Q-snap, and I was super happy because I can now frame all of the remaining stitch area with my 8x8 Q-snap frame. So yeah, so it was fun. It was fun to see like that it's now small enough to fit in that frame. And I did use it for a prompt. Please hold. I did use it for a prompt for Magical Stitches. We needed to work on something that had secrets, so I just picked that because there's a lot of hidden little things in there that you may not necessarily see when you're looking at it, you know, at a glance. So there's always things that pop up there, like yeah, just small little scenes, especially in the clouds, you know. If you look closely, you see there's a ship, there's, you know, the characters in the clouds. So yeah, so I just went with it. Between that and then I also used it for one of the ultimate challenge tasks. It got 790 stitches, so almost 800. I've decided that from now on, because counting the stitches on this one does slow me down a lot, I've decided that this time around I'll just use it for the enchanted stitching challenges, because for those you either count your stitches or you count the time. So I think from now on I'll just go ahead and do for the non-counting version, the time version, so that I don't lose that much time counting the stitches. But I don't have that much to go. I do want to do about the same amount of stitching, like 800 stitches per week at least, because yeah, it's the home stretch. I do have the back stitching to go, but I did back stitch as I went along, so I really only have that last quarter, the bottom quarter, to do, and then I'll be done. Yay. A lot of you are like super into that one. It's so funny. I constantly get people like, oh, just, you know, forget everything else and just focus on this one, just finish this one, get it out of the way. I'm just like, but I have other things to work on. But who knows, like I do feel it coming though. I feel like within the next couple of weeks I will get into that zone where I just want to finish it. So I may finish it before the month is over. Who knows? We'll see. The next piece I did work on was my ink Circles Sal. This is Relentless, and I am working on this with a few stitchers here. Zakia, Ladywing Designs, and Millennium Stitcher are one of them, or some of them. And I used this for another Magical Stitch prompt where we had to work on something that had bad luck. And I grabbed this one because I made the mistake of wanting to stitch on this when I was zooming with some stitchy friends, and I ended up having to frog the same section 3 times. So I did it I did the same section 4 times. But I powered through, and that's because like I kept like, you know, I would fix the mistake but then make another mistake somewhere else. So that's how that went, right? But I powered through, fixed it, and was able to get 200 stitches on this. I originally wanted to finish the black outlining before the end of the month, because for the Sal, but I don't think that's going to happen. I am putting in more regular work. I want to put in at least 1 or 2 lengths of floss in this a day. It's a fun stitch. I love Ink Circles has a lot of like symmetrical mandala style patterns, so they're really soothing to work on. And there's always there's also like well, not hidden details, it's just things that I didn't notice when I originally got the pattern. I only noticed it as I was stitching. Like you have the symbol for male and female in there, because this was released to commemorate the time when it finally became legal for or same-sex marriage was what became legal. So yeah, so it's a nice stitch. I really enjoy working on this, but I don't think I'll be able to get the outlining done as early or when I wanted to do it. The next piece that I focused on is my Bilbo Baggins piece. This is Bilbo's home, and the design is by, this is by Mendering's Designs. And I worked on this because I was using it for an enchanted stitching prompt. It's one of the year-long tasks. The task was that we needed to work on a piece for 1,865 stitches, because the year-long event that they have going on is the Stitch Around the Parks, where sometimes it's distance, sometimes it has to do with shows that are in the parks. You know, if it's, oh well, there's, you know, 689 feet between this ride and this ride, so that's how many stitches you have to put in. This one was a little bit differently. This one was because in the Rise of the Resistance experience that just opened up, there's 18 different scenes where you go on along the ride, and there's 65 different animatronics robots. So that's where 1865 came from. So, and I also used it for a weekly prompt. For enchanted stitching, we had to work on something that had the letters B-O, that started with the letters B-O, or that I had the word boo in it, for the character, for the girl, the little girl in the movie. So between finishing the 1,865 stitches and the weekly prompt, I put in 900 stitches on this. But so as I mentioned, I only counted the time for this when I did the weekly prompt. That's when I did all the half stitch area here. So I counted my stitches for the 1865, but then for the weekly prompt, I counted the time so that I didn't, because if you do half stitch for the prompts and you want to count your stitches, you have to double them. So I didn't feel like doing that, but I ended up doing 900 stitches overall. So, and that's 900 symbols, because the pattern keeper just counts, you know, a symbol was something done, you know, whether it's a half stitch or full stitch. So yeah, so it's coming along really well. I'm really happy with all the bright colors. Like I was stuck on, you know, this top half for so long, that finally getting around to these bright yellows and the teals and the greens was really nice. I'm very happy, and I'm at 36% completion. So since I focused since I focused on this so long, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to set it aside for this week, because this week I want to focus on Moon Charmer, which you'll see in a second. Because between those two are one of the ones that have the higher stitch count. Back when I could still do my weekly stitch count. I can't work on my whips, all my whips, during the week anymore. I have way too many. I finally sat down and wrote down my list, and I have, including the ones that I'm gonna be starting next month, I'll have 31 whips by the end of the month. So it's a lot. It's a lot. I can't, and it's just impossible now. It's impossible to stitch on them all during the week. So I'm trying to do more like a focus rotation. So, you know, Bilbo got 1,800 stitches, almost 1,900 stitches during the week, or during the last 3 weeks. So now I'm gonna go ahead and move on to Moon Charmer and give that one some focus time. The other piece that I'm trying to focus on is my Snow Girl chart. This is a Tilton Crafts chart based on Daniel Kordick's artwork, and she's my 20 and 20 challenge piece. So for full coverage fanatics, we have to stitch on one whip for 20,000 stitches. And I also use this for another enchanted stitching monthly task, where again, back to the Monsters Inc. theme, they have a code for when there's a human child in the monster world. That's 2319. So we have to put in 2,319 stitches on a single whip. So I finally got around to finishing those 2,300 some stitches. I put in 1,000 this week. And it was, I mean, like, it sounds like a lot, but really it was a lot of filling in this entire section. Like, I've already done all the colors in that section, and I only need to do this last color right here. So it goes by super quick. But yeah, again, that's another one of the whips that I kind of want to focus on, so I can finish those 20,000 stitches relatively soon. And I got, like, I want to get to something different. Like, I want to be able to finish or start on the apple, but I've decided I'm not gonna do that until I finish stitching the area around it. So this is you can kind of see the outline of it here. So yeah, so I still have quite a bit to go before I get to the apple. But as I mentioned, just I want to keep focusing on her, so I can move on to bigger and better things. Another monthly task that I finished for Enchanted Stitching is we had to work on something for 12 hours because that's how long it took to animate a single frame of Sully's fur. He has so much fur, and they had to animate each and every single individual strand. So I chose my Beauty and the Beast dimensions kit for that one. Again, this is a hard copy pattern, it's a paper pattern, so it's a little bit tedious to count my stitches. Sorry, I dropped this, so I had to pick it up. But I finally got around to finishing those 12 hours total, and you've seen this the last few videos, but this is it. When I started this challenge, the only thing I had done was her skin. So within those 12 hours, I did her hair, and I did most of his coat and the blouse or whatever that is. So yeah, I'll go ahead and still work on this for a little bit. This is the focus piece for Jessie Marie's Whip Go board. so I do want to get some more work on this done, because this is one of the pieces that I do want to finish this year. And dimensions kits are usually pretty quick. There's a lot of, there's a lot of white space. The only really, the only stitched area is the characters. So yeah, so I'm sure I'll get it done eventually, relatively soon. And then I also started a new piece, and I think I might have mentioned it. I can't be sure. Sorry, there. I can't remember if I've mentioned this on my last video, but I did start a new Heaven and Earth Designs piece. This is Mini Soaring Free 2 by Joan Marie. It's a relatively popular pattern. I've seen several people work on this. This was one of the first hate charts that I ever bought. I just never got around to actually making it because there was always something else that I wanted to start. But I finally got around to it. I did start this as an anniversary piece. One of my childhood friends passed away, so I did talk about this then, because I do remember that mentioning I had started it. I had the white done, so I kept going on this. I added the second, well, not this. I added like 3 more colors because I only had the white the first time round, but I've decided to go ahead and try parking, because when I started that second color, there was like on one of these gridded squares, there was like 1 stitch that was of that second color, and the stitches are so tiny that like it was hard. I'm not used to it yet, so finding that tiny little square that it was missing was just like, okay, I can't. So I decided to go ahead and try parking to help with that, and so far so good. I'm really enjoying it. I'm enjoying working on this too, but I'm also just in the background, so I keep telling people like, well, I say that I like it right now, but don't hold me to that, because I haven't really gotten to the bulk of the pattern, the butterfly. But yeah, she got 400 stitches done. Using it for an ultimate task for magical stitches. They're 500 stitch count increments. So so she will get plenty of stitching done. And then the last piece that I focused on, that I started stitching yesterday, was my Moon Charmer piece. This is another Heaven and Earth chart based on Amy Stewart's artwork. And the reason I'm going to be focused on this one this weekend, because Full Coverage Fanatics is having a Shakespeare weekend, Midsummer Night's Dream. So they invite you to, I don't know what's going on with my hair, guys. Sorry if that's distracting you. I'm just fiddling with it, but Midsummer Night's Dream. So this weekend is summer solstice, so Full Coverage Fanatics is doing a little bit of a weekend event. You can work on something that's related to Shakespeare, so anything related to summer and related to fairies, because of Shakespeare's work. And I just decided, the moon is very symbolic in that particular place, so I just decided to go ahead and just tie this in to it. So I didn't get her, like, I wish I kind of sort of may have forgotten about it. I mean, I didn't forget about it, but I kind of just, it was just one of these like, oh my gosh, it's Friday, the event started today, so I didn't get that much done last night. I only got like 300 stitches. So I will go ahead and keep focusing on this today and tomorrow. I don't know how much stitching I'll get done tomorrow though, since I am gonna be visiting my family, my parents, for Father's Day. It'll be the first time I see them in 3 months since the shelter in place happened. But I'll stitch on it today. And I am using this for another ultimate task in Magical Stitches. So again, she just needs to get some love. The weekly stitch count average was at 700. If I want to get, because right now I'm at 30,000 stitches, and the goal originally was to get 80,000. So I have to somehow, some way, stitch 50,000 stitches by the end of the year. I don't think that's happening, but I'll give it a go. I'll stitch on her at least for, oh, I lied. Well, yes, so I am using her on one of the ultimate stitching challenge tasks, but it's the one where we do a trip to each of the different Disney parks. So I actually have to put in, like, I think like 5,600 stitches on her. So I'll go ahead and finish that that task, and it is still in 500 stitch increments, but I'll at least finish that task and see where it takes me. I'm kind of considering putting it away for a little bit, because I am starting, so I started this in honor, or not in honor, but you know, for me and my boyfriend, because we both really enjoy playing fantasy games. So she, you know, I don't know, I think I've always thought she was like some sort of elf. I don't know if she actually is, but in my mind she is. So, and now he's asked me to stitch something else up for him, so I'll be starting that this week as well, because I ordered fabric, but it should be coming in the mail today, and it's just black Ada, nothing too exciting. But yeah, so since I'll be working on that for him, I'm kind of considering having that replace this, at least for a little bit. But we'll see, because I think the reason why I kind of lost steam on this a little bit is because of the fact that I was stuck in the confetti land for a bit, because I was working on the trees. So I feel like I still have like that impression in my mind that if I work on this, it'll be working on confetti, but it's not. Like I'm back to working on sky, which is a lot of block stitching essentially. So I feel like that'll get me back into it. I feel like that's going to be an easy stitch to do when I'm watching my shows or FlossTube, or even just zooming with other stitchy friends. But yeah, that's it. Again, I don't know what I'm going to do with all my whips. I have so many whips now that I actually ended up having to, where is it? No, it's on this side. I used to have a little booklet where I kept track of my whips and the projects that I started, and I have so many now that I ran out of room. Like, I ran out of room in that little booklet, so I decided to go ahead and I got a journal, and I decided to go ahead and just do the same thing, but so I can have more space. And it's just I essentially just added the same things I added in that in the booklet, the pattern name, the designer, the date started and date finished, what fabric and what floss you used, and then additional notes So for this one, I just happened to open it, but for this one I did say I started this on the 26th of November, which was Lady Ween Design's birthday, Zakia. So that's what I wrote, and I said I started it for Zakia's birthday Sal, since she loves yellow. So the June piece has a lot of yellow background, which is also kind of greenish, but it was like the color that I was working on the most during that time was yellow. So yeah, so this is what I'm gonna be using from now on. As is, I already filled up, because I did go ahead and like make the template for more, to allow for more whips to be started. Not necessarily because, I mean, I am going to be starting a few whips eventually, so I wanted to go ahead and make sure that I had the pages for it, but I filled up like pretty much, I don't know, I feel like that's just a little over halfway. I don't know if you can see, but yeah, even using this journal, I'm like, ooh, yeah. Hell, I mean, I'm sure this will last me a while, because I'm trying to not start any more things, but we'll see. Sometimes I just start things randomly, so I can't be held accountable for it. But yeah, as I mentioned earlier, Harry Potter, or well, I mentioned it during the description of my journal, so if you skipped over it, I mentioned that my Hogwarts castle was going to be turning 2 this week. So I'll definitely work on it at least on Friday, maybe. So I hope to work on it some more, because it hasn't gotten any attention since Mania. I also want to work on Esmeralda, because I still have a park to do for full coverage fanatics. I also want to use her, so right now we're doing there's another Sal going on in Instagram, in the world of Instagram. I think I'll go ahead and add the hashtag for it in the description box. I just have to confirm what it is. I think it's Inclusion Matters. There's 2 that are pretty much like used hand in hand. I think one of them says inclusion. It's about inclusion, and then the second one is diversity. So it's the same thing, you know, right now, like the movement is still going pretty strong. So I wanted to use Esmeralda because she's a POC, she's a person of color, but the character herself was also, you know, in the movie, the Hunchback of Notre Dame movie, the Disney version at least, you know, she's an advocate, like she's the one fighting for justice for her people. So I feel like she's a good, she would be a good whip to use. So I do want to take her out this week as well. Yeah, so we'll see. I hope to be able to show you at least a park finish on her next week. And then for Hogwarts, I also want to make sure that I have some some progress on that done. Since I'm not able to touch all my whips weekly now, what I'm going to try to do is I'll do, instead of the weekly average, I'll do monthly average, and then do a rotation that way. I mean, it's still gonna be the same thing. It's still going to be like for Moon Charmer, for example, that's been that hasn't been touched in a while. Hers is 700, so it's still going to be a lot. But I feel, because that's essentially what I did with Bilbo and with Snow Girl. I focused on them for several weeks and got a good chunk done. So now I feel like that's going to be obviously, maybe, you know, working on the same way for 3 weeks is not so good, but I feel like if I just focus on that way with the monthly average count and use that as a rotation, I hope it works. I hope it works. Yeah, and again, I have four new starts coming, so that, you know, whatever I plan now might go out the window once I finish those. Who knows? Who's to say? Yeah, that's all I really wanted to show you guys, and that's all I wanted to talk about. I did want to again address the questions about my planner and my organization, because I haven't really, I mean, you guys see me glance at my pattern during my videos, but I haven't really talked about that in a while. So yeah, so I did want to address that again. Other than that, I do want to thank you guys again for sticking around, for letting me ramble about whatever it is I want to ramble. And yeah, hopefully I do have a finish to show you guys soon. That'll be really, really good. The next one that's closest to finish is Haku, which is my Spirited Away piece, so hopefully he'll also come out soon, because I haven't really touched them in a while either. But yeah, I mean, everything is evolving. Yeah, plans evolve and change over time, so that's just how it is. But yeah, thank you guys for spending some time with me. Again, if you have any questions about anything that you saw in this video, feel free to leave a comment or send me a message via Instagram. I hope that you guys are still, you know, doing well. You're staying safe. We're, you know, doing not so good now. We were doing good and then not so good. So, I mean, me and my boyfriend are still doing well, thank goodness, but yeah, the beginning of the second wave is coming, at least here in my area, so we're kind of bracing ourselves for that one. But yeah, I hope that you are all doing well, that you're staying safe and sound. I hope that you have a very good weekend. You know, if you're spending time with your family for Father's Day here in the United States, I hope that, you know, you relax, that you enjoy the family time, and I hope that you guys have a productive week and you find the time to do what makes you happy. So until next time, happy stitching, guys. Bye.